So here we are at Robot Dog Studio under the watchful eyes and ears of Marian Cohen and Sam Mark. Tonight I'm joined by Adam Rabin. How's it going?
Going very well. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Cool.
I'm very excited. I've been hoping to get you in for one of these sessions in one form or another for ages, so I'm glad we made it work.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to it. I was hoping to, I could have a full band with me, but these are not the days for that.
Not at the moment, yeah.
But that's fine. This is a fresh new challenge for me, so I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Yeah. Okay, what are you going to open with tonight?
Well, I figured I'd open with an oldie but a goodie. I'm going to open with The Other Room, which is an Elephants of Scotland song, which I originally wrote on an acoustic guitar, brought it to the band, and what we call elephantized it. So I'm kind of bringing it back home to where it originally was. So
Nice.
This is The Other Room. Pictures of raisins flash on the screen when my brother and I think the same random number. Dad, can I go play now? Transmitting images of swirls to my brother's mind, and if he gets it, then I get a guitar. Dad, I'm gonna go play now. Dad, I'm gonna go play now. It's not abuse, 'cause it's cooler than anything your dad ever did with you. And he never made me drive the car for a drive-by on the neighbor's dog. And I know I'm different for this, but I wouldn't have been born to anything else. No, I'm not giving hints. He's in the other room. And what would give this rainbow fractal away anyway? Dad, I'm gonna go play now. Dad, I'm gonna go play now. It's not abuse, 'cause it's cooler than anything your dad ever did with you. And he never made me drive the car for a drive-by on the neighbor's dog. And I know I'm different for this, but I wouldn't have been born to anything else. I know. He's in the other room. The other room. It's not abuse, 'cause it's cooler than anything your dad ever did with you. And he never made me drive the car for a drive-by on the neighbor's dog. And I know I'm different for this, but I wouldn't have been born to anything else.
Hey!
Thank Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, I love that song, and so psyched that you opened with it.
Thanks. It's one of my favorites from our catalog. It's dark, it's fun, but it's also got a few moments of what did you just say? Which I always love in a song.
Okay, and that actually leads me into my first question very nicely.
I figured it might.
Yeah, when I first got to know you, you were playing in this band called Elephants of Scotland, and you kind of like played around for a bit, went to Rossfest and played a giant show there, then went over to England and played a show over there. You want to talk a little bit about the evolution of Elephants of Scotland?
Well, Elephants of Scotland, so we were a progressive rock band, which explains why we played big festivals elsewhere.
Yeah.
We had trouble getting arrested, let alone a gig around here, but we did play a handful of gigs, and you were probably at most of them.
Yeah.
And it was fun. It's just something I've always wanted to do. I've been like a garage musician, a spare bedroom musician for years and years, and I was like, I got a handful of songs I'd love to like really get a band behind, get some meat under, and I found the right guys. I was playing with a few of them in an 80s cover band of all things with Hot Neon Magic. That was the three of the guys. And then we found a bass player and it just kind of went from there. We all kind of had a similar, we had that 80s upbringing, but we also had that progressive rock, the Yes, the Rush, the Crimson, all that stuff in the back of our mind also. So we kind of found that as a good launching off point. And then like you said, we played around. We played some out of town gigs. We had some really good luck in Montreal and Quebec City. And through one thing or another, a few personnel changes, and then we kind of just took a little bit of time off. And wouldn't you know, we were just getting back together. We were just starting to write again and kind of find our groove again. And then a few months later, lockdown.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where we are now.
Okay.
Kind of brings you from the beginning to the present day.
Yeah, I'm pretty psyched that you're still going and that there's new things still happening.
Yeah. We never broke up. We just trying to find. We don't all have the capability to record and jam at home. So we're waiting for the time when it's safe for all of us to convene in person. And and there will always be something.
Yeah. One of the things that I thought was fascinating about Elephants of Scotland was that you played a bunch of Metal Mondays shows. So you're playing with metal bands, and then the kids who were there were actually like listening and like interested. They were, not maybe as into it as the metal bands, but they were like they were respectful. They were impressed. It was obvious.
Matt Hagen's his Metal Monday shows were basically the closest. It's like when we got a gig, we got a few gigs, and unless there's like a built-in crowd, it's tough to build a new audience outside of the people who already know you. And that's what's great about stuff like Metal Monday or these prog rock festivals. It's like, there are like two or three other bands that people will go to see, and then they'll say, "Oh, who are these new acts?" And the same with Metal Monday. There were established metal. There's an established metal scene. And we're not metal. We're certainly not metal. We tailored our set lists to the metal crowd. We didn't play any of the softer tunes. We definitely played the harder ones. And it's kind of the closest. It's the closest we could get. To a scene. And it was great. Like you said, we always played first because we were always the oldest people there. So we're like, let's get us home by a reasonable hour. And the metal fans, they love technical stuff. They love to hear people who are playing notes, who are putting something together in that kind of progressive way.
Yeah, I just thought that was actually fascinating in the way it worked out. So
much like the mask you were wearing when I first got here, Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden, there wouldn't be Iron Maiden without Rush. There wouldn't be Rush without, King Crimson and the early Genesis stuff. So it's definitely part of the same family tree, even if they're on, slightly different branches.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, what do you want to play next?
Well, I want to go from old to new. So this is a song that, like the last one and this one, my often co-writer, Greg Skillman. He wrote the lyrics for, and I wrote this music about a year ago. I think it was last January. And yeah, so it's a short little thing. Blink and you'll miss it. But I don't want to say too much about it because it's one of those lyrics that I know what it means to me, Greg knows what it means to him, and it just has to do with the people you want to be with, the people you want to surround yourself with.
Okay, and what's it called?
This is called Heliopause. Heliopause, Greg had to explain to me, is the limit of the sun's gravitational pull.
Okay.
So basically past, Pluto and the outer belt is what we would call the heliopause. And it's that moment where you're out of reach of the powerful pull at the middle of something.
Nice.
So this is Heliopause. I am outside. I am outside, influence of your dark, cool sun. You are burning, and I have found asylum from your rays so hollow. From here back home, never go. From here to fate, always go alone. Gotta go alone with ones you chose. Ones you chose to love.
Yay!
Thank you.
Oh, that was really nice.
Thanks. Oh, I'm glad that went well. I'm always nervous about new songs, but yeah, that was, yeah. I'm like, every time I play that, I'm just loving it more and more.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Just thinking about the sun could be a metaphor for so many other things in that case.
Yeah, it can be a good thing and a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's the giver of life, but it's also a big frickin' hot ball of fire.
Exactly.
So, it might be where you start out from. It's like with anything, where you start out from, it's good to have gratitude for that, but also know that you don't want to stick around the same spot too long. Like I said, there's any number of ways to interpret it, so I don't want to.
Yeah, that's really interesting too. I like that.
Yeah, I don't want to go too deep into it.
So speaking of Greg, do you want to talk a little bit about your partnership in writing with him?
Absolutely. So Greg Skillman, I met when I was living in Florida years and years ago. We met on March 15th, 1991. So we're coming up on 30 years of being buddies, and we have different musical styles. Mm-hmm. They cross over a little bit. He turned me on to the Meat Puppets, and I've come to appreciate those guys. But he's more like anyway. So we met and we decided to put a band together, and it never quite took off. But we found we enjoyed writing a lot together. He had a lot of lyrics and some music, and I had some lyrics but a lot of music, and we kind of had that same peculiar take on the world. We knew we could talk to each other about anything, and artistically our aesthetics were very much aligned. And when you find a partnership like that, we had the wisdom to recognize it at the time and say, we got to, even if we're not in a band, and even if I move across the country, we got to keep in touch. We got to keep creating. And so we have. I'd say we're as fruitful, if not more, than we've ever been over the last few years.
Oh, nice.
Once Elephants really picked up, he wrote more and more for us. Certainly on the last album that we did, Random Earth was something that he and I were very much, and Counting on a Ghost, were very much going back and forth by email a lot on. And those are like two of my favorite moments from that band. And yeah, and he and I, of all things, and once we got into lockdown and we started that, once you get to that first or second level of craziness from being inside for months, I said, hey, maybe we should write a musical. So he and I are writing, we're very close to the end of writing literally a full-length musical of, and that's not even the weird part. Once I'm ready to tell you about what the plot is, it's that same kind of really out there, kind of bizarre kind of thing. But it's still a fun musical with some fun songs in it. So like I said, Greg and I, actually tomorrow, Greg and I we already have a chat scheduled.
Oh, cool.
So we're going to Zoom and work on the next little task for the play. Yeah.
I can't wait. I'm very excited.
So am I. I'm really looking forward. Once the world gets back up and running, which it will, I'm like, okay, I want to have this ready by then to figure out how we can make it happen, how we can put this thing up into production.
Sounds cool.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, what do you want to play next?
Next one I want to play is called, I figured if I'm doing acoustic stuff, I feel like a little bit of a folky. So here's my little, what do you call it? Social commentary, current events kind of song. This is called Too Many Voices. And you played this on your show. You played like an early cut of this a few years ago. I think I uploaded a copy of this, but I've kind of like, the song continues to evolve. I haven't like had an official release of this. So I keep changing the key. I keep changing the arrangement. So right now it's just this fun thing I play on the acoustic guitar. So
nice.
This is Too Many Voices. Too many voices on the air. Too many voices on the air. They pull their facts out from who knows where. Too many voices on the air. Too many voices set in stone. Too many voices set in stone. Never hear a word except their own. Too many voices set in stone. And the words that we keep to ourselves are the words that we most want to say. Too many voices. Too many voices. Too many voices crowd my brain. Too many voices crowd my brain, lashing out against their deepest pain. Too many voices crowd my brain. And the words that we keep to ourselves are the words that we most want to say. And the words that we whisper too softly are the words that will never go away. Too many voices shouted down. Too many voices shouted down. The wisest words don't ever get to make a sound. Too many voices in the choir. Too many voices in the choir. Each one tries to reach a little higher. And the words that we keep to ourselves are the words that we most want to say. And the words that we whisper too softly are the words that will never go away.
everybody.
There it is.
Oh, that does sound familiar from quite some time ago.
Yeah, just one of those. Some songs get an official polished release. Some songs I just kind of think out loud with.
Yeah. So I guess my next question for you is, it's February.
Yes.
Last February, I believe you took a challenge to record and create an entire album in February. Did you do that this year too?
No. I thought about it. I was definitely considering it, and I kind of blogged about it was around last week, about a week before the end of January. I was like, okay, what could I do this year? And I just kind of brainstormed a ton of ideas. And every time I thought about recording an album, I was like, there's the great thing about the project last year was that I was able to bring in 20 of my friends to help contribute a lyric or a vocal or a guitar part here and there.
That helps a lot, yeah.
It took a huge load off, especially some people were able to record at home. So they could be recording at home while I was doing something. So we definitely were able to double task. And I'm very happy with that album, Things Fall, that I put out last year. And I'm definitely I'm gonna play one of those songs for you. But yeah, I wanted to take a little easy on myself this year. And plus, like I was saying, that play that I'm working on, my brain, too much of my brain is already committed to that project.
Yeah.
And a few other little things I'm cooking in my head. I did it once before in 2012. That was the first time I did an album in a month. And then right after that, Elephants of Scotland started to, occupy more and more of my brain.
I imagine it'd be hard to do one of those in a month.
Yes, that would be impossible. To do a prog rock album.
Yeah.
But then again, I should just commit to it and do a double prog rock concept album all within a month. But I'm gonna wait until 2024, because then it's a leap year and I get that extra day.
There you go.
Yeah.
That'll make the difference.
That's what I did last year. That's what I did in 2012. I'm gonna do these album in a month in February things, but I'm only gonna do them on leap years because I need that extra day. That makes all the difference when you're writing and recording an album from scratch.
Yeah. It's just such a mind-boggling idea. And then I listened to the Things Fall album and I'm just on the floor going, just a month? That's it? Really? Wow.
It's funny how things come out when you literally don't have time to think about them or second guess them. That was the two that I did. The lesson I learned and need to keep learning and keep reminding myself is trust. Dude, you know what you're doing. You don't need to write and rewrite and rewrite. What comes out instinctively is very often a very good thing. And, trust your instincts, trust your ears, and in this case, trust your friends.
Yeah.
And everybody came through, and everything landed. So it's just one of those lessons I need to keep teaching myself.
Cool. I think that's probably something we all need to teach ourselves too. 'Cause a lot of times that first initial instinct is right. So
very often. Yeah, and even the couple little warts that are on the album that probably only I can hear. I I wish I had recorded that guitar a little better. I wish I had placed the microphone a little bit over here instead of over there. But it's that's not what happened.
Yeah.
This is what happened, so that's what's on the record.
Yep.
And there's a beauty and a magic in that that I'm very pleased with. So yeah, I'm glad you like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice. Okay.
Go ahead.
What do you want to play next?
Well, I was going to play. I'm going to play a song from Things Fall, but I'm going to do that. I'm going to close with that.
Okay.
This next song is called Snow. I figured I'd pull that one out. It being February, as you were keen to point out, it being in February in Vermont, I figured a song about the winter and the snow in particular, and the effect that snow has on all of us, whether we want to admit it or not. I'm going to have a little sip of water, and then I'll play. It's from, like I said, what did I say? From 2005, I released this. It's called Snow. One time in a little town, she called me up to say the snow might bring me down if it doesn't go away, away. 10 feet beneath the snow, a candle lights a room. My shovel, where did it go? Oh, it's right next to the broom. I step out into the cold, make a path to the street through the snow. I lost my sense of time in the snowbank by the shed. You drove up just in time to see me hit my head. The sun is in disguise when clouds of winter pass. There's the sunshine in your eyes when I made you laugh. You step out into the cold, walk the path I just made through the snow. Was that really so hard, or was it just a passing thing? Is it really the snow, or something buried deep within? One time in a little town, we sat beneath the snow. If the candle burned away, she forgot and let it go, let it go.
Yay!
Thank you, thank you.
Wow, that was gorgeous.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Yeah, that song always, yeah. Yeah, I obviously I wrote that in the winter. It's, you know, we love going out and playing in the snow, but there's definitely that part of us that always gets weighed down by it. And yeah, it just came to me one day, and I'm glad I had a pen handy, and I did.
And I like the line about losing the sense of time, because sometimes when it's snowing, it just seems like time just sort of stops.
And in part, it's that whiteness. Like, you get that fresh blanket. You don't even know. It's like there's no curves. There's no features outside. It's just a big, vast white. It's almost like a cyc wall in a TV studio where it's just whiteness. It's like the end of The Matrix when Neo is just standing in white. And there's, I don't know why I'm talking about The Matrix, but it's that same sight, time. Yeah, there's just, it's tough to hold on to something, whether it's physical or mental, when it's that cold and that just featureless and quiet.
Yeah.
So
that's
quiet.
One of the things I loved when it was like 20 degrees below and just covered with snow. It's just everything is so quiet.
Yeah.
It's just like you never get to hear that quiet when you live in the city.
It's a loud quiet. It definitely rings in your ears. And yeah, I loved it too. I had that same feeling. I was like, what if I'm listening to music, I'll just take off and just stand outside for a minute and just be like, oh, nothing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the other things that you do that I've never actually seen, but I've heard about, is the improv.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, do you want to tell us a little bit about that and how that works? And
Yeah, well, obviously I haven't done it in a bit over a year. I I got involved in just, I guess it was like 5 years ago or so, 5 or 6 years ago, just on a lark. The band was on some downtime, and it was one of those things like what I'm doing today or a lot of my projects. I just wanted to challenge myself, put myself in a different space. I still have that, creative urge. And I took an improv class, an improv comedy class, but it's essentially improv. And then I took another one, and then, I got involved in the scene over at the comedy club and around town. And then musical improv started to become a thing. People were like, yeah, let's get together. And I'm not as good at making up the songs, the lyrics and singing in front of people. But a lot of the comedians and the performers, they're like, yeah, Adam, you can make up songs. You can give us chord progressions. They don't need to be fancy. They don't need to be like, endless part 1 and 2.
Yeah.
It's more like snow. It's like, give us a few chords, listen for the changes, listen to what's going on in the scene. And it's such a great thing. It's very, stand-up comedy is kind of like the rock star. Then the improv is like the jazz, is the cool people at the jazz club. They're finding it in the moment. Sometimes it doesn't work. If the joke doesn't work once, tell it again. Just like jazz, right? If you hit a bad note, hit it again, and then it's the right note. And so it was such an opposite approach to what I usually do, where I'm like writing and rewriting and revising and producing and layering. And this is like, no, you show up, you don't know what you're playing until you start playing it, and then when it's over, you have to let it go. You have to, it's off in the ether, never to be rewritten, never to be played again, never to be edited. It is what it was.
Yep.
And there's something appealing about that. It was a good antidote for everything else that I had done. I guess I'm always looking to make myself a little uncomfortable, if not a lot uncomfortable, because that's where I find where growth happens, inspiration or surprise. If nothing else, a little bit of surprise happens.
Yeah,
So I got involved in that, and like I said, obviously there hasn't been much going on in the last little while, but I'm definitely looking forward to things picking up and getting involved with the gang that I just haven't seen in forever.
Yeah. Well, I'm certainly hopeful that things will get back together.
Yeah, you got to come out to one of these shows.
Yeah.
You're always at the shows, but you got to,
It's definitely been on my list. It's just like, the timing was, 5 other shows in town happening at the same time.
I know. There are so many shows. Yeah, we're lucky that Burlington and the whole area is very lucky to have so many options, entertainment-wise.
Can't wait till I have to look at it and go, okay, which show am I not going to tonight?
Right. That's such a problem.
It'll make me happy now for once.
Yeah.
I mean, not happy, but...
I know what you mean, yeah. I'm looking forward to having too many options as opposed to, I get to be on Tim's show. Yes, this is everything. Clear my whole week. Which, this has been great.
Yeah. Okay, so what do you want to close with this evening?
I'm going to close with the title track from the album I did last February that we were just talking about. Title track. The album is Things Fall, and this is the first song, Things Fall from the Sky All the Time, that I co-wrote with another longtime friend of mine, Chris Combs. He lives down in New Jersey, and he and I, we met online over like 25 years ago, and it's just one of those great things about the internet is you find one or two people, especially back in the 90s when just a select few, real nerds were, were trolling around. Maybe trolling's not the right word, or hanging around. And he and I have just kept in touch, and we write, and we've gotten together. We've hung out a bunch of times. He's come up, I've gone down. So for February project last year, it was perfect. I was like, hey, you write songs, I write songs. Let's, here's what a kind of song I'm thinking about. And then he kind of ran with it. He wrote the verses. He wrote like the opening riff. And then I did my mojo to it. And, I only had like a day to really mess with it and then lay it down. And it was a perfect example, which is why it's the leading song on this, and the title track is because it just came together so well.
Yeah.
So this is Things Fall from the Sky All the Time. And I am going to have another little sip of water because I'm talking so much.
Hydrating is a very good thing.
You got to hydrate. And the other reason I want to do this one, I should say, is when I realized I was doing your show, I was like, all right, what songs can I strum and pick? And I was like, oh, they have a cool old piano there. So I was like, all right, I have to do a few on the piano. So I pulled out Snow, which I very rarely do because it's so much a piano song. And then this one, I just had to do because I've always wanted to play stuff like this on like a great old upright. So here we go. I grew up scared, living impaired, didn't go out to avoid the stairs. Such a funny thing to worry about. Took me far too long to figure it out. Things fall from the sky all of the time, without reason, but plenty of rhyme. Up is now down, all around. I see smiles where once there were frowns. Things fall from the sky all of the time, without reason, but plenty of rhyme. In my tower I was safe and sound. I would see the world looking down. In my tower like a castle high, I would see the world passing by, like a flower that wants to grow. I am uprooted and away I go. I step outside, arms held wide, breathe in the air that I had denied. Seize the day, come what may, and let everything fall into place. Things fall from the sky all of the time, without reason, but plenty of rhyme. Things fall from the sky all of the time, without reason, but plenty of. In my tower I was safe and sound. I could see the world by looking down. In my tower like a castle high, I could see the world drifting, drifting. In my tower more is said than done. I could count the world 3, 2, 1.
Yay!
There you go.
Oh, I love that song. Thanks for playing it.
Thanks. Yeah,
Just make me want to walk around looking up and making sure there's no flower pots heading my way or anything.
Exactly. So you know the story.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. And I knew I had the title first in my head for that song, and I sent it to Chris, And the reason I sent it to Chris was like he'll know what I'm going for. I was like, there's a psychedelia kind of vibe to that title. I love working from a title first. There are definitely more than a handful of songs where I have the title and nothing else. And sometimes you just sit with the title for a minute and you're like, oh yeah, I know where I'm going with this. Nice. And you just, sometimes it's collaboration and sometimes it's just right at your own fingertips. Yeah.
Yeah, I highly recommend everyone goes out and gets themselves a copy. There's 3 different stories on the whole album?
Yeah, well, right. So the concept, it's kind of a concept album in that I asked 3 of my friends, my wife and 2 of my friends, to write short stories, and we read them out as like radio plays, and then there were points in each story where I injected a song. I was like, so you do like a couple paragraphs of the story, and then this song, and yeah. So the whole album is it's like a proper album, and it just tells 3 different stories through music and voice acting. I used a lot of the people that I've met through the improv community.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
Because there's a very theatrical element to what they do.
Yeah.
And they were just a perfect fit. And they definitely brought those stories to life. So it's great just to have so many people wanted to get involved and got involved, and so many talented friends. I'm definitely a lucky guy.
Yeah. And putting it all together in a month is like,
that's
pretty impressive.
That's because I'm insane.
Yeah.
That's on me. Yeah.
Well, I really want to thank you for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Do you want to plug any social media or anything like that before we head on out?
Well, my website is imadeitup.com, and I think if you go to Facebook, it's Adam Rabin /Elephants of Scotland.
Yeah.
And Instagram, where I do a lot of stuff. I have fun on Instagram making little 1-minute songs. What's my handle there? I think it's adam.rabin.
Okay.
There's a link to it from imadeitup.com if that's not right.
Yeah, we can put a link in the comments on the Facebook post that I do too.
Yes, I appreciate it.
Okay, well, thank you very much again. And again, I really want to thank Sam and Ryan. And let's head on back to the WBKM studio.